Hey, podcast listening people, Connor Doobie here. Welcome into B2B Mentors. We're with you live because Monday is for the mentors, my friends. So I have a guest interview for you today. You can also check out all the episodes we upload to the audio app. We're on all your favorite podcast platforms. Please go to iTunes, leave a 5-star review so others can find the show too. Just search up B2B Mentors and you'll be able to find us. We're bringing this to you for free, right? All you have to do is tune in, take advantage of the information, find that one golden nugget from each guest that you can take action on and implement. Speed of implementation, my friends, that is the true precursor to success. So I'm going to bring my guest up here, give a little intro, make sure you share this video out, or again, you can always check back on the audio app for the post interview. So with that, my friend, I've got Jake with me today. Jake is the founder and CEO of Skaled Consulting. Jake helps executives around the world accelerate business growth with data-backed sales solutions. Before building Skaled, he held the roles of VP of sales at, I don't even know how to pronounce that, man. Is it Nowait? Nowait.
No wait.
That's so much easier.
You're
Why do I
so
got to
close.
complicate
You're
shit?
so close, man.
Head of sales plus customer success at Chartbeat, VP of sales at Glassdoor, and acquired by Recruit Holdings for $1.2 billion. And there's a lot more on there that we're going to dive into. I mean,
A lot of
this
other
guy's
stuff.
the real deal. I've followed you on Instagram. I've seen you do a lot over the years and, I've done a lot to build your brand. So welcome, brother. It's good to actually meet. I do a pre-interview call and I'm like, dude, let's do it. I've seen Jake around and so this is actually our first time meeting for anyone
I love
listening.
it. I know it'll be good, man. I'm looking forward to it. We can talk all things business, sales, everything I've seen, done, messed up. Happy to share.
Love it. All the good stuff we can nerd out about. Let's start with this. Well, first I'm going to give you permission and do something difficult, which is to brag about yourself. If you want to expand a little bit upon the brief bio that I read, and what led young Jake to professional Jake where you're at today?
Well, it depends on what level of where I'm at or where I was at. I didn't ever think I would start a company. We're a 40 plus person company now. Do big consulting engagements all over the world around revenue generation. I've always been like a very contrarian. Okay, my parents like hated it. Okay, like, and I have a 7 and a 3.5-year-old now, so I get it. And so I've always not if things are stupid, I'm like, oh, I just don't get this, right? And so what happened is I became very good and I continued to get better and better. And I've always been a student of the game, right? And I always am studying sales, like what's new, what's exciting, sales technology, et cetera, because I feel like I need to be at that cutting edge. And for me early on is about consistently aligning to my strengths, and I think I still do that at this point in my life of just where are my strengths, like what is the universe telling me that I'm good at that I also enjoy doing and get energy from. And that's where sales came about. That I didn't have when I graduated college or even when I was in college and doing sales, I didn't think that's where that wasn't my calling. But man, as I started to get into it, I'm like, man, this is my jam. It's stimulating, it's curious, it's consultative. Again, we've got a lot of stigmas about sales is, and so early in my
100%.
really early in my career, it nurtured a lot of that I could study and read and get better and try this thing and do this. And so, yeah, man. And then after getting fired as a VP of sales for a second time, not because numbers destroyed, right? And what I realized is that I suck at politics. I suck at it. Like I sucked really bad because I was like 30, 31, 32. I'm like managing, companies raised $50 million and I hired 40 people in 1 year. Like I'm figuring it out, and so I didn't get enough mentors. That's a whole other thing, right? So I didn't get enough mentors. And so I think I struggled to see around certain corners, right? Because that's what a mentor, right? They've been there maybe 2-3 steps ahead of you. And so they're like, yeah, this is the corners we're going to mess up. But also I realized, like, look, what's my path here? And I was like, dude, you love the game, you love this work, you're really good at it. Why do you keep working for other people? Just go do it for all these other companies. And so fast forward to today, we've got, like I said, 40 plus people, work with well over, I don't know, 400 or 500 companies this year. Just hired our first full-time people in EMEA. So it's been taking 8 years to get here, but things are good, man. But it's all about listening to
Yeah.
myself, my strengths, etc.
Yeah. It's just like, the practice is what makes the perfection along the way. You don't just come out of the gate and it's just you're a
Exactly.
magnificent business god from the start. What is it? What was your very first sales gig? Do you recall?
I think if you classified it as sales, it would be in college. It was telemarketing. That there was this firm called Apex Marketing. I'm very specific. I saw it in the newspaper. Okay, it's paying
That
like
sounds like multi-level marketing to
I
me.
can't believe it. No, it wasn't like that. It was that we will what we well, it's like not quite at that level. It's like a baby step. So what we would do is I used to have to call you. I'd call you on the phone. I'd have to get your credit card to get you to go to a 3-day, 2-night vacation. I think my very first job, I sold Williamsburg, historic Williamsburg, not New York, Brooklyn to Williamsburg, and it was like $35, and you'd go and you do it, and there was a timeshare pitch. So like my job was to get people to the timeshare pitch, and I was exponentially better than people at it relatively quickly. And the number one thing that I was able to do is get out of my comfort zone. I realized, like, look, I've got to make the same 100, however many of these calls are going to come up at night. I can either bring the heat every single time and get uncomfortable and embrace it, or I can be scared on every call. I can, like not be empathetic, etc. And so, the second I did another stint, this other one, that's when I started to realize like I'm really good at getting uncomfortable, and I don't judge myself for like when I really mess up. And because of those things, I was naturally, what that meant is like those are two really important things to being very good at sales. And so I had a little bit of that was natural, and then over time I fostered it and learned the process of sales, because in my opinion sales is much more of a process than it is an art. And art is just what can make someone like a top 1%.
Yeah, the crazy thing, I'm probably only 1 or 2 years younger than you, but the beautiful thing about sales, it's like there's no perfect mastery. You will always, until the day you die, be learning and refining sales because it's always changing. People are changing, the ecosystem's changing. I mean, there's framework you can follow, but it's always something that you have to constantly practice.
Well, the truth is, what I would say is that sales is evolving now faster than ever. I mean, again, from having been in it for almost 18 plus years now professionally, that doesn't count the college stuff. It's evolving faster, and a lot of that is consumer behavior. Think about Instagram. It's like, look, when I click something, when I'm late night scrolling, I'm like, ooh, I want those. Like, it's like boom, boom, click, buy. Now what's happening? Amazon, boom, boom, buy. At this, like, we now are used to going through, doing research, are on our own, and in B2B sales, this is coming to us.
It's happening in B2B. Yeah.
100%, where
Do you
people are
think
like,
even if you're selling multi 8-figure deals, 7-figure, you still think that's really where we're going to end up going?
hell yes, it is. I don't think it'll be ever 100% click to buy. So let's be very
Mm.
clear. What keeps happening is where the human comes in the loop, where the human comes in the process, keeps getting pushed back. And so for those yes, for an 8-figure deal, yes. 7-figure deal, probably. You're going to need a human in the loop around like very specific things, right? High-end purchases, right? It's the same thing. Like, you don't go buy like a brand new McLaren usually without talking to someone, because there's so many different options, right? Like, so at a certain level of complexity, you're going to need a human in the loop. But how they've done all their research, and for what we would have called transaction, what we would have called like mid-market, $50,000, $100,000 a year, they're going to be almost to like 80% of the way through. And right now, the issue that we have in sales and B2B in particular is most people's customer journey is one size fits all. You come in, you talk to a person, they're trained to act like this, and then they do that. The reality is, what we have to adjust for now is each person is now maybe coming at way different steps of level of
Yeah.
engaged or knowledge, and sales teams just are not ready for that. They're not equipped for it.
So salespeople need to be better marketers than closers.
How about this? I think what we need to do is realize the job of sales has always been consultative, facilitating project management. That is where sales is at. So I need to be able to understand, great, hey, tell me a little bit about what the need is. Tell me about what you're focused on. Okay, where are you at in this process? Okay, how have you thought about my competition that does XYZ? Okay, great. Now let me tell you about next steps. So all these details that need to happen. And let's see if this is the right process for you. Candidly, that's not like a ton different than what we should be doing now. But I would say that, yeah, you might yeah, there definitely are marketing. Like, I might send you some things that before I'd be like, well, that's great, Connor. Why don't we hop on a call and can we talk through? Ugh, yuck. Stop asking people to hop on a call when I literally asked you for some
poor
info.
schmo. The poor
You
schmo
know?
who downloaded the white paper on your website and they're getting
Exactly.
100
Can we get
fucking
on a
calls from
can we get on a
salespeople. It's
can we
like
get on a call? It's like, dude, I literally
they need a.
thought this
I'm
content was
sorry, I didn't
interesting. No, you're
go
good,
ahead.
man.
Sorry, there's a lag going on. I don't know if I'm freezing or if you're freezing on your end. Am I freezing on you or is that you or
I'm good,
me?
dude.
Oh,
Good.
well, you keep freezing on me.
I'll just fake freeze on you next time.
Just
And
trip
then
everybody up.
you'll never
Like,
know the difference, man.
I'll know. I see it. I see
All
the
right,
fate.
we'll
I see
see.
the.
All right.
But salespeople really need to have a better awareness and understanding of marketing and being and like maybe more sales leadership needs to be much more tied in with marketing because of the way that buyers are going much more into I want it now. I know what I want. I've already done the research. I just want someone to take me over the fence.
Exactly. That's what we got to be prepared for. And that's okay. So again, when someone asks for something, you don't have to go to, can we hop on the phone? You say, absolutely. I'm more than happy to. Here you go. Here's a link. Actually, why don't you check out the demo? It's 4 minutes. If that resonates, then why don't we set up some time? Thanks, Connor. Oh my God. God forbid we let people look at it on their own time. Right. Who wants to get on a call, man? Come on.
To the next phone call and the next step. And it's like, it's buyers truly have the control in their hands at this point. You know, one thing, I want to pivot back to sales strategy stuff, but for my own selfish purposes, we're also a service-based business, always learning from other mentors such as yourself. First off, why you came from a very kind of tech, more like a SaaS model sales and scaling that kind of business. Why'd you go into the service business? Like, what was the thought behind that?
That's what I mean, building the processes and things is like what I was naturally good at, or not naturally learned to be a little bit of natural and then more learned. So for me, it was like, what's the skill set that I have? The skill set that I have is how to build a repeatable sales motion. And I had learned that over time that what I will say is sales is much more repeatable than anyone understands. Like almost all B2B processes follow this very basic construct. The first call is a discovery. Both sides get to know, whatever. Then you got to drive momentum. Then you get a meeting with a broader group of people. They bring in some people. They bring in some people. Then, depending on the size of the deal, you then have another meeting with so-and-so. They then decide, they then go back to the group. You've refined the proposal and the deal happens. Or you go do a proof of concept that then there's success criteria. Sales is really not that complex. It's like, I like to use analogy, like it's like writing code. Once you know how to write code, like expertly, it's just a process. You just realize like there's just a customer journey. And again, now it's just like, how do I show up? Now more than anything, it's just like the way I show up, needs to be different. And maybe they've already done step one. So now we're going straight to the meeting with the larger group of people, or we're talking about a pilot faster. But the way that we can buy things in B2B is, again, I've worked with thousands, plural, of companies in the last 8 years. And let me tell you, I haven't seen a special flower yet. I haven't seen one. We've worked with tech companies that sell into finance, into HR, into insurance, into government would be the only one. Because I actually think government's kind of its own thing, but like,
that's
it's
like
not sales.
RFPs or
Exactly.
That's a bit more like very technical.
You just
doing a
fill out
lot of
RFPs.
documents.
That's not sales.
Yeah.
That's like how to build out fucking RFPs.
Yes.
So sales is very process driven. I think a lot of companies appreciate the art more than they should, because the reality is more people should be executing best practices and then being artistic within it. It's like the difference between someone who can paint a Monet because they have watched it and someone who can paint it because they've got a blueprint, and they both look the same, right? And so I think more people need to understand, and as they're scaling their organization, focus early on understanding what is that way that is best and optimizes, for conversion or for disqualification at any time. So the process is there, but we still need to make sure that we're adapting to where customers show up in the journey.
Right.
Where are they finding us?
Yeah, I mean, we made the big mistake too. Like, we didn't even in our own business adopt this quick enough. Is we just so our business is 20 years old. I came and took it over with my dad about 6 years ago or so. Now we're partners in the company and we're service based, but it was a very
cool.
Consultative sale back in the day, right? Like, even just a couple years ago, you spend the time, you take them through the process, meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, and then meeting 4 is when that's when the close is coming. But It's just a BS way to do it. Once we started productizing things a bit more and becoming much more of like, we'll give you access to this. Like, we don't have to go and sit through everything. We need to know that there's a fit here, but we're going to put you in control. Our sales have exploded, in the last year, even like once we've really refined some of these pivots. So what are some of the earlier mistakes that you made in building a service company? If you had to go back to building another service business 9 years ago, what would you do differently?
Yeah, man. I would have documented more faster, right? Like we documented the shit out of everything, but I wasn't focused on building IP. And you can have,
You mean your processes, like internal
mhm,
processes, documenting that?
yeah, yeah, and like even like our methodology and how we optimize outbound. And I like to get in and help businesses, and I think I struggled early on to understand how important that would be as we scale, right? That like we've got to the point where I haven't been doing all the consulting for a long time now, but
Mm-hmm.
we still haven't done a very good, it's still not there where I would love it to be, where it's like all of what's in my brain is now in this beautiful process that, as we onboard our consultants, they can get up to speed and, execute, do their own version of it as well too. So I think that was probably my number one mistake. Number two is trying to do too much, meaning I think sometimes as you're growing your business, I'm like, is it sales related and you have money? We'll do it. And, and that's like kind of the nature of consulting, is it's really easy to get pulled into rabbit holes. And I didn't stay focused early on enough to say like, hey, we're going to be really good at this one thing, own that, then this, then that, and I think we're kind of doing a better
Give
job of
us an
that.
example of what you mean by
Oh
that.
yeah, I'll give you a good. There's one very specific example that stands out. There's a company that came to us, really cool company out of New York, and they're like, hey, can you guys help us with hiring? Like doing some like interview or resume screens for sales reps. We're like, sure, why not? And like the woman who was the main POC had also been a recruiter. And so this poor guy, Joe, I'll never forget this. Like she was just hazing him constantly. And it's like, we shouldn't be like, we're not a resume screening for sales company. Like,
This was an employee of yours,
yeah, he
this
was the
Joe
one that
guy,
a company. Yeah, Joe was on my team, and I had said,
and
hey,
you
Joe,
just
you're
threw him to the wolves without
I just
process or
I had like an interview template and how to score. It was
yeah.
not good. And there's that. I think other things are like, it's 2017 and we had some really good partners in sales training that were like John Barrows and Richard Harris and Matt Cameron. There's a whole bunch of guys that are just really good like sales training guys, and we would do sales training too. And I just realized like, man, I don't want to build a sales training company. Like, come in, do a song and dance for a day, and then you leave and you hope they figure it out. Like, I want to see, like when we work with companies, I want to make sure we've got enough meat on the bone to where we can make sure that they see change. It's not just, like, hey, we've explained a topic, now good luck, and maybe 5% of people will do anything. So that wasn't a thing where we had messed up. It was just I didn't want to do that. And so instead of continuing to do it and worry about how we're messaging, it's like, we don't do sales training. If you want that, these people are epic at it. And so it's like, it's more defining more and more of what your core is. And a lot of times it's defining who you're not just as much as it's defining who you are. And I think in a services business, that becomes, more and more important.
I think that's really important to share, and you probably have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that follow you as well. And it's like of course, as entrepreneurs, it's like, no, we don't have shiny object syndrome. It's like, no, we don't constantly think about, hey, maybe I can add that to my business, and that'll be an extra
24/7. That's all I do.
XYZ. And so it's more difficult to get rid of shit and focus on stuff than it is to like add all these different things in your business that you could make money on.
Yeah, and be intentional about, hey, this is what I think we're really good at now. Like, that's great. And then, then think about just, what does really great look like, and optimizing the processes on that. And then, we kind of just went like, "Rah," and then then we kind of narrowed it back in, and that, I mean, at least a lot of things, right? Your employees, like when they feel like they're pulled in a bunch of directions, they're not happy. That Joe
Mm-hmm.
guy, I mean, Joe and I still have a great relationship, but like, and then he's doing like writing some sequences for somebody. It's not good either for your people. Just that, and again, that's kind of what I stopped myself. I think that's what I've gotten better at, is I come up with I have lots of ideas. Let's put it that way. My latest idea is Gather. So I spun up a Gather instance. For those of you who don't know, it's called Gather Town. It's a metaverse world for our office, like our
What?
virtual office. So basically, because what we're trying to solve for, like a lot of entrepreneurs, is serendipity. right? When you're not in an office, because we're fully remote now. You know, we've got different WeWorks that we go into. We've got to
Did
deal
you
with
do
them.
that prior to
We were already
thou that shalt not be named?
we were already probably like 80% remote. We had an office in Austin and an office in New York, and but what Gather is this concept of like virtual office, and like you come in, and so what it does is, you know, like let's say you're running late for a meeting, you then go to Slack and say, hey Connor, I'm running late for a meeting. Cool, ping me when you're done. Hey Connor, I'm done at the meeting. Cool, all right, I'll send a Zoom. Oh, okay, great. In Gather, it's like I just message you on Slack, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late, grab a room and I'll meet you. And then like my avatar will just go over and it just immediately pulls up our video immediately. There's no Zoom. And so I think that stuff like this is going to be how we want to collaborate. You know, as more and
This
more
is
people are
VR
virtual.
VR
No, it's not like
headsets?
full VR headsets. It's more like the 2D version. But that's next.
Got it.
I mean, my friends, if you can't see that
It's
that's what's on
coming.
the roll, if you don't think that you're just denying it. You're putting your head in the sand saying, no, we're all going to go back. It's never going to happen. This is the way the world's going. The tide is there. You can scream from, you know, the hilltops that you wish the way that it would be things are. So that's why I embrace this stuff. But to your point, this is one of those things where I'm like, okay, this is okay, because I'm not going to disrupt the whole company. What I would have done, have been like, send the invite to everyone in the company, everyone join. This is going to be great. And now I'm like, okay, my leadership team, we're going to try this for 2 to 3 weeks. And we're going to test it out. I'll invite some people in. Like, so I think I've got better at controlling my enthusiasm and kind of like, you know, parking lot it. And then if I'm really diehard about it, then it will come through. But a lot of times those ideas die on the vine.
What do you do now to continue to expand the circles of influence you're in? I know you have your podcast and all of
Yep.
that, but you've built a niche out for yourself amidst all the, I mean, how many I don't want to offend you by say sales training, but
no, not training.
I know,
like,
what would you consider your company? Like
we're consulting, man. We're coming in
sales
and like
consulting. So there's a bigger, robust picture. Touch on that real quick. What really is the difference between like I'm a sales consulting business, Jake Dunlap, versus you know, XYZ person?
Yeah, cool. And I think too, consulting also has its own stigma of like, you know, you're going to come in and give me a bunch of advice on stuff and then say good luck. And that's why I started at both companies. To the companies as a VP of sales at, I worked with consultants, and then like we did this project and they gave me this like readout. I'm like, dude, what do I do with this? like, cool, thanks. You know, 85% of this we had already discussed. And, you know, that was part of it. Like, can we help with a tactical pull through? So the difference is that, you know, whether it's sales training, it's like, hey, we've got a problem around, we want to learn new ways to generate leads. Cool. I can come in, I can tell you 5 different ways companies are doing it. We can do workshops, blah, blah, blah. And then you go back to your desk and what do? Same shit you've been doing, because it's easier. Consulting is like, let's go and talk to the people. Let's look at the tools. Let's look at what we're doing. Let's look at the data. Let's add some details. Let's redeploy it to the team. Let's optimize it for 2 months. So then we actually see the change, as opposed to like, here's some new like, who learns through a 1-day seminar? Sales is by the way, just think about it. Sales is the only part of a function that at scale thinks that, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of marketing training and there's plenty of that. But sales at scale thinks that a sales training is what you should do to solve a sales problem. A problem, not like hey, we need to get incrementally better. If you need to get incrementally better, training is amazing. If you have a problem, training is not amazing. Right? It's good for introduction to topics or getting you from 1.17 good at something to 2.0.
Or even the occasional inspiration kick in the pants that like, but I totally agree with you. Like, people retain very, very little from these $100,000 workshops that they put their salespeople through for a day. And then it's like, there's no real impact in the long term.
The margins are great. Don't get me wrong. You know, like for our clients, we do training, right? Because it's a part of the process. And if it's, you know, friends or
I'm not saying clients, I wouldn't take that shit, because I would take it on. Like, I would do, but I mean, net, like, it's just not going to create the impact. And there's a time and place. Like, I'm not bad mouthing sales guys
there's a
who
total
do this,
time
but
and place. Total time and place for it.
You know, right? What's there that sticks? How do you get stuff to stick?
That's it. That's when you call us. If it's more about they need to be introduced to topics, it's more about, hey, we need to level up a little bit, increment. Great. That's sales training. But sales training is not a solution to a broken arm, right? Band-Aid and gauze is not a solution to a broken arm, right? But if you have a cut, a Band-Aid and gauze is perfect. And that's how I would think about in a non-graphic way, sales trading in a non like gory, like bloody way.
Just getting real graphic real quick.
Yeah, why not?
We're in this weird push-pull area where it's like, as you mentioned, we're moving towards the direction of becoming much more of almost a fully automated B2B right? We're all focused on B2B sales here, B2B sales process. But we're also still in that area where it's not necessarily there 100%. And I think I hear often marketers, digital marketers, CMOs, sales leaders over rely on technology and like waste so much, even just trying to find technology vendors. Like you mentioned before we get on, it's thousands. I mean, it's haunting how many are out there. You spend a whole year just trying to vet everything that's out there. So, what is a successful bridge for sales technology going into 2022, 2023, 2024?
Yeah, well, one is embrace it, meaning the problem isn't the tools, it's that the problem. There's a few different problems. One is we tend to think of deployment of tech tools as the final. Hey, we've done the vetting, we've done the selection, and now we're going to deploy X, Y, Z. And we've got to shift the mindset. That is step 0. Now the real work begins. That now we've got to make sure it gets ingrained. We've got to make sure we're optimizing it. We're doing additional integrations. And so that's what we see is, companies are maybe using 20 to 30% of what these tools are capable of because they didn't think through what happens next. And they focus too much on just getting the tool, getting it live, getting people trained, and then they optimize it every 3 months, 6 months, 12, whatever it is. So step 1 is mindset. Step 2 is I don't think enough people really analyze like what is your real bottleneck. Where is that bottleneck in the customer journey? Is it getting people from XYZ into the funnel faster, like an inbound lead? That's the number one bottleneck. That's a whole set of solutions. Is the actual bottleneck getting people from step 2 to step 3? Then that's the I think too often we don't quite understand the holistic like system, the customer journey system, and where the bottlenecks are. So we pick solutions that solve something that actually isn't the biggest constraint. And we wonder why we don't see the return on investment. So continue to look at those tools. And it's part of, look, we have a whole tech managed service practice, right? We've got, I don't even know how many people in that group, 10, 15 now, growing to like 30 next year, because you can't know it. We're implementing these tools hundreds of times, hundreds. And these tools, guess what? Our people, like, we got to stay up to speed on this. These tools are evolving so quickly. And so, it's why we started this practice back, a few years ago now. Is like we saw where this world was going, and companies need help around this. And so, it's a big part of our practice. And I would say, look, I don't care if you work with us or not. It's more about you can't afford to not know these tools. And then you can't afford to, when you do implement them, making sure you look at the implementation as step 0. And the teams that do this effectively, they set up a process for always optimizing them. They don't try to just take on so much to where they can barely look at the things anymore or see how people are using it. They invest at a rate in technology or find a partner to then help them to continue to make sure they're getting the most out of it. And right. I think that's a big thing is when you take a step back, you look at the bottlenecks, you make sure you've got a plan to deploy, and it's not just deploy, but it's for real reinforcement and optimization, you can be very successful in deploying the tech stack.
I'm a VP of sales, and I can go and waste months and months and months trying to vet out tools, do the homework myself, or I can shortcut and exchange money for time and leverage partners like Jake and your team to, provide the trusted guidance on what tools to go for. So my team's not spending 12 months just like wasting days trying to automate too many things, and it has the opposite effect. And then we're dropping in sales.
Yeah, I mean, check out G2 is a great site too, g2.com, letter G, number 2. Like you can compare things side by side. You can, like there's enough tools again, like and things again that are evolving that can, again, you don't have to do it all. I talked to a woman today, she had vetted 13 tools in this one category. And I'm like, wow, like that sounds like a lot of work.
So for you, like all the companies across, I mean, you've worked with some Fortune 500s, you've worked with some mid-market companies. Roughly on average, how many sales tools are in the fastest growing company's tech stack? If that question made sense. I was kind of
I get it. No, I get it completely. Here's what we're saying. And how about this? Let's talk about, because it could be they have this tool or not, and like maybe it's effective or not. A quick math, and I'm going to focus on sales tech, not marketing tech, because marketing tech would add to this. And CRM is kind of a Salesforce, HubSpot, Dynamics. That's kind of a table stakes. Like I'll assume that they have that. I would say that, especially in like the tech industry, like software, hardware, and some others, I would say the average team has 7 to 10 technologies, and they're spending between $600 to $1,000 a month per rep. So I'd say like 7 to 10 techs, something like that, and then they're spending about that on the hundreds for that. So if you're using 2, right? I'm telling you, you're not optimizing. You're doing a lot of manual work, most likely.
And you see some with too many, and that's having the opposite effect for them. Do you come across that often?
Well, yeah, or it's just like you have 10 tools, but you're using 20% of all of them. You use one to do this thing, not realizing that thing also integrates with these other things and could do these things, that you get 50% out of all of them. So I'd say most of the companies that have invested, but aren't seeing the ROI. Like they're seeing like a part of the ROI that they could be seeing if again they really started to learn. You can do like automate, like good example. I'm just going to give like one that might resonate with some audience members, which is like you have a marketing automation tool, right? So you're sending emails, etc. That tool might have a lead scoring. So like people are interacting with the content, or they're interacting with the content on your website or whatever it is. And then what usually do, that we say, okay, that then goes to Salesforce. And then we say, okay, now we signal, oh, hey, somebody's kind of interested. And then like you wait, someone kind of follows up. Instead it's like, hey, as soon as someone trips a 49 lead score, we can then create an automation and like an outreach that says, take that person, immediately put them in the sequence that we know is for those types of people. As opposed to like, we put it in, somebody figures it out, someone comes and goes, we send that person an email. Like that's like a micro example of this, of like how these tools can just do all this mundane work for us if we just take our time a little bit.
Right? And then where should salespeople be allocating their time once they've gotten a lot of the bottlenecks of the grunt work kind of off their back, where there used to be a sales assistant maybe who did some of that stuff back in the day?
Personalized messaging, man. Going back to it. What else, guys? Pretty soon, I'm going to tell you, within the next 5 years, I've seen the AI
prospecting, getting new people into the pipe,
or nurturing, or adding value to this, creating content on LinkedIn to nurture your network. There's a million different ways. Because let me tell you this, AI, and I've seen what these tools look like. If somebody responds back to an email, okay, and they say something to the effect of like, hey, Jake, timing's a little bit off. Can we blah, blah, blah? AI is getting smart enough. It can respond to that better than you, because it can look at how everyone else has responded to that email across everyone on your server, and who's responded yes, who's agreed to then take a meeting, etc., and then send a better reply email than you can. And you take that concept, as AI continues to mature, we will not be responding to basic emails in the very near future. Like, Jake, hey, I'd love to set some time up with you, blah, blah, blah. And like AI assistant, do you want to schedule time? Yeah, I do. Okay, great. Oh, sounds great, John, blah, blah, blah. It's like in your tone, in your voice, everything, because it can then you can see how you usually start emails and how you begin emails. And so we just have to be ready that, therefore, what is the value we as people can add? It's the nuance, it's research, it's like understanding the intricacies of what someone's role is and how they operate. And so that is where sales is evolving. I think salespeople are going to be required to be smart. I mean, not that they're not smart now, but like you're going to have to be required to really know your customer and get real specific, because when that basic interaction starts to get automated, it's going to like, just like how now we get all these automated emails that are supposed to be personalized, but they're not. They're crap. Right? So that's where we're headed. And so as a role in sales, like I'm going to add value, whether it's research to generate meetings that's personalized, or it's during the process. Maybe it's in building new relationships in the customers. Hey, I know we talked briefly, Tim. Here's a new white paper I saw that Gartner put out. I think you might find interesting. Or whatever.
So you mean when someone emails you and says, "Hello, Jake, I saw you're the CEO at company." That's not enough personalization for you? Like,
I know,
why
right?
you got
I
to
know
be
that.
so demanding, man?
I know, dude, and they've got so much synergies with me as well too that it's
So
just
many synergies.
it's
There's
so
so many
wild,
freaking,
man.
yeah, oh my god, so much monies that could be made together. It's all there. We
I
just got to
love it.
reply and say
I
yes.
know.
So
I just got to take advantage of the synergy.
so two quick things before we wrap up here, and we'll wind this baby down and let you on your way. Number one, drop your top 3 to 4 favorite go-to sales tools right now, sales technology tools.
Yeah, Outreach.io has got to be number one. It is a sales engagement tool that allows you to put together sequences of activities that you can customize or create like a mini template around, etc. So you never have to remember to, what's the next step to follow up? How do I keep people in the pipeline, my current customers? So Outreach.io would be one. Number two would be some type of data tool. So I need clean data in, so I'm not searching the internet. You could go with a basic LinkedIn scrape tool like Lucia or Seamless.ai, or you could go with like a Zoom Info, which is a little more robust, or Sales Intel is another
You always
version.
get crap emails if people scrape LinkedIn accounts. So like you
It's
almost
usually a
always
lot
get
of
crap
Gmail.
emails
It's
doing
a
it.
lot of Gmail, but
Yeah.
what it is good though, what it is actually good at though is cell phones. It's actually the data that you get from some of these tools. Their cell phone data is really good. So I
It'll
wouldn't go
pull a cell phone from somewhere
if they
else,
have
but
it.
you
Yeah,
can
or if
use.
they have it on their LinkedIn. You'll be surprised. A lot of people like LinkedIn ask you for the stuff that people just put this shit out publicly. Like, yeah, hit me up. And then Sales Navigator, which allows you to do more robust kind of like list building on sales on
Yep.
LinkedIn, I think is a must.
One of the most
Outreach.
powerful, underrated B2B technology tools out there, even though a lot of people talk about it, it's so underutilized for social selling.
Yeah, and if you remind me when you release this, I can give you a link to where people can get like 60 days free and they can like test it for themselves and try it
Why
out.
would I do that when they could just use my link?
Well, then use your link, even better, man. But look, use his link, sign up, and try it out. All right, so go try out Sales Navigator. It's definitely worth it.
I want that commission, bro. I want that
That
little the
30 bucks.
little
You want
30
that?
bucks at the end of the 90 days or whatever
I
it
didn't
is.
think about it, but I'm like, hey, if you throw it out there, I'll throw it out there. So I think to me, when you're using those, you've got a way to act on it. You've got clean data, and you've got a way to again maybe interact with people a little bit more. That's a really nice like beginning tech stack. Then you layer on analytics tools like Insight Squared. You layer on video. Vidyard's a partner of ours, sending one-to-one videos to people. I'm a big fan. Sendoso doing gifting. So go ahead, go back,
What was the
re-listen
last
to
one
this.
called?
Sendoso, Sendoso. It allows you to like basically put together a much more robust gifting strategy. Remember in that sequence, step 6 is, hey, pick this that's relevant to this person's job title. One of these 6 things, boom, send. Click, done. Right? Like, again, you want to stand out. That's all you got to do. Today, it's just about be a little creative. Send a video. It takes 25 seconds.
For real.
Send something else to stop sending email, and wondering why it's not working.
And then getting offended when we
Oh my
don't want to buy your
God.
cryptocurrency or
It
send.
wouldn't respond to me. Well, your email sucks. You suck. That's why they wouldn't respond. That's how I always looked at it. When I was a rep and when I was getting better at my craft, if they didn't respond, I suck. I never had that mindset. I'm like, I suck. I said something or didn't say something to why they didn't respond. It's my fault.
So, dude, and wrapping up here, you're in front of a stage in front of all the top, fastest growing company sales leaders and sales folks out there. 60 seconds. Where do you want to leave things?
I want people to listen to what we talked about with technology, that you cannot outsource your knowledge of technology to other people. The new world is going to require that you understand the art of possible. So you don't need to know all these tools, but you now need to know, wait, we shouldn't be doing these 20% of things manually. There are tools now like this that could be solved. I don't know the details. So for all my leaders out there, the sales tech stuff, it can't be, well, I don't know, that's the kids. Bullshit. You have to understand this because our world and technology is evolving so quickly that you will continue to build manual, overly cumbersome processes that if someone else and another leader, right, who's younger than you or your same age, he or she starts to embrace that, no one's going to want to work for you anymore. And in 5-10 years, you were likable, you were that person, but this person over here is making everyone's life easier and they're crushing numbers. So just take that with you, do your research, take a look at some of the things we talked about.
Mic drop right there. That was phenomenal, buddy. I really, really appreciate you. I'm grateful for your time. Guys, jakedunlap.com. What are some other ways people can find you,
Go to
follow
LinkedIn.
you, contact?
Yeah, go to LinkedIn, check it out, Jake Dunlap, just / Jake Dunlap. You can check out what I'm doing on YouTube too. So you just go to Jake Dunlap. There's this kid who's really good at hockey and me. But also if you type in Jake Dunlap sales, we've got,
another YouTube account. Who's a hockey guy?
500. I think we've got 500 plus sales videos on there too. So if you're looking to like up your game and, just, learn more modern practices, go check it out.
Beautiful. Guys, go connect with this man. Go learn from him. Go study his stuff. Jake, stick around for one quick second here while we wrap up. And for the rest of you, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go subscribe. Check out all of our past episodes, future episodes, all of your favorite podcast apps, B2B Mentors. And by the way, if you and your team are struggling with getting your blogs, newsletters, content for LinkedIn done on a regularly scheduled basis, go to activeblogs.com, activeblogs.com. Much love, make it great, and I'll see you on the other side.